Hello, sorry it's been a while since I've done a video, but I normally don't put my ugly mug in front of you, but um, for this one, I'm trying something different. I'm using Zoom and I'm creating this video using the Zoom application on my computer. I want to have a little quick video. I'm going to talk about San Francisco. I had to move my daughter up there in late September. She's in the heart of the city of San Francisco, and I'm naturally into strange things like ghosts. And so I stayed at what's called the Hotel Beresford Arms, Hotel Beresford Arms. It's near the corner of Jones and Geary. And let me tell you, it's a great hotel. I'd highly recommend it. And they didn't pay me to say that. I'm just telling you. I had a suite with, it was basically an apartment. I had two separate rooms. You have a bedroom, you have a living room, you have a kitchen, beautiful bathroom, everything's decked out. Don't let that building fool you. The inside's very modern. The bathroom actually had a bidet in it. So, but my point for this video is I asked around. Naturally, it's an old building. It was built in 1908, same as my daughter's apartment nearby. It was built in 1908. 2 years after the earthquake. And so I was curious and I asked somebody who worked there, hey, are there ghosts here? And he told me a couple of things about the building that was interesting. And I'll show you some pictures related to spiritual activity that people have spotted at the Hotel Beresford Arms. But he told me something else that I found really interesting. And I had never heard it before. And this individual talked about how a lot of the ghostly activity in the city is in the basements. And he said, do you understand why? And I said, no, I don't understand, other than basements typically are creepy, And he said, no, he said, back in 1906, the street level of San Francisco was about 5 feet below where it is now, which is why the basements would have been ground level. And I guess that kind of makes sense. And so I started noticing, of course, San Francisco has hills and so on and so forth. But I started noticing like driveways, you're walking down the street and you look to the right into the alley, and the alley is literally on a 45-degree angle and drops 5-10 feet before it levels off. That's strange. And that would make sense what he's saying. And he said it had to do with the fact they had to raise the street level after the earthquake. I don't know if because they had so much rubble. I don't know. I don't understand that part of it. A lot of the downtown was destroyed. The area of San Francisco was destroyed. Now, this particular map, this is north. Actually, this is north. So the Golden Gate's over here. This is north. This is basically south. And this is indicating construction. The black is construction within 2 years after the earthquake of 1906. And you can see this area here has the least amount of construction, but generally speaking, there was construction everywhere. In fact, most of the buildings where my daughter lives, and you can see just by looking at it, most of the city, pretty much, the buildings were built right after the earthquake. It had to be. And those of you that are students of the earthquake will know that a lot or most of the damage was done by the fires, because when fires broke out and the water mains were broken due to the earthquake, the breaking of the pipes through the earthquake. Let's take a look at the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, just some general information. I'm not here to give you a history lesson. You can look this stuff up. But it was at 5:12 a.m. And one of the things that this gentleman shared with me at the Beresford Arms Hotel that I stayed at was that, and I don't know how true this is. First of all, I have read a little bit about this. They say more than 3,000 people died. It really varies. Who knows? There could be people buried in there, buried under these buildings. They don't even know that they're there. These bodies were there. I would assume that they found everybody, but who knows? It does say here 80% of the city was destroyed. That's incredible. Being from Chicago originally, I know the city there had a fire, the Great Chicago Fire, started allegedly by Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicking over the lamp, blah, blah, blah. This had a magnitude of, now they say a moment magnitude. And I know I've heard or read that it was originally like a 9.6 or something like that. Seems like it's been adjusted. I'm not an expert on earthquakes. We're saying here 7.9. But getting back to what the individual told me, he said at 5:12 a.m. when this earthquake hit, his statement to me, and I don't know if this is true, was that a lot of the deaths were children because the parents were gone away at work. And if you think about the earthquake hit, and I think the earthquake lasted maybe a minute or so, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And the destruction really wasn't until after the fires started. And here you go with the shocks, 42 seconds, the main shock and so on. Now, once the fire started, though, the adults were at work or whatever, trying to get home. And this gentleman told me a lot of the deaths were children. And that's really sad. That's really sad. Now, when I stayed there, I was staying with I shared a room with my daughter's boyfriend, and he has native blood. He is over 50% Aztec. He claims he can astral travel, and he said he astral traveled the Saturday night, Sunday morning. So it had been around 3:30 in the morning Sunday before we left. And he said he was astral traveling. I believe he said it was room 313. And he found a boy from this who was lost, basically. And he said it was really sad. It hurt him. It hurt his heart because he realized this boy was trying to go home and he couldn't go home. And he said the boy was dressed in the knickers and everything from that time frame. And it just broke his heart. And he said he didn't know what to tell the boy. He knew the boy, it's like the boy knew, but didn't know that he was, that he was trying to get home. He knew he couldn't get home. It's a sad situation. And so he told me that. I don't know. I believe him. I have no reason not to believe him. So again, the fires, it says they burned out of control. Up to 90% of the destruction was actually the fires. Within 3 days, 30 fires caused by ruptured gas mains destroyed 25,000 buildings on 490 city blocks. That's incredible. And that some of the firefighters used dynamite to try to demolish buildings. And these dynamited buildings caught fire, which makes sense. In fact, they say the fire chief had died from injuries sustained in the initial quake. So they didn't even have their fire chief. Maybe that, he had died in the initial quake. So maybe that's part of the problem. Here is a picture. It says looking toward the fire in Sacramento Street. I can't even imagine how scary that must have been for these people. Scary enough today. The Mission District. Okay. And here, picture of soldiers looting during the fire. That's a little bit shocking to me. Refugees leaving the city. I mean, what are you going to do? You got to get out of there. So here's some footage I'm going to share with you real quick. This is from the California Historical Society. You can check this out yourself. Just cool scenes of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Just kind of zip through yourself. Basically, you go down to San Francisco, which incidentally, to me, is a beautiful city. Hands down. This, you would have seen nothing but pretty much destruction everywhere. People, I can only imagine, slept in tents and stuff for many, many months before the buildings were rebuilt. So this is my room. There were actually two beds. This is the bed I did not use. This is the bedroom part. To the left would have been the living room part. It was one of those beds that pull down from the wall. Next to that was a small little kitchen, a galley kitchen. The price I paid was about less than 150 a night. This was total steal. I think right now they're trying to draw people back into the city. And so if you're thinking about going to San Francisco, I highly recommend it. However, note it's very strict with the COVID, politics aside. They do require, I know we went to a restaurant where in order to go in, you had to have the shot. Now they didn't enforce it. In other words, I had to go to the bathroom. I didn't have my shot at that point. My second shot, I had my first, but not my second. And I got to go to the bathroom. I don't give a I'm going. And she didn't say, the maitre d' didn't say anything. So, but bear in mind, some places might be very strict. The hotel didn't ask for any proof of, vaccination or anything like that. Just bear that in mind. It's very strict there in that part of the country. So that's the room. The scene from my this is what it looks like from. Bear with me here. This is the outside of the room 807. That's what the hallway looks like. Shot. This particular shot right here, the individual told me that I believe it was his wife, was standing in front of these stairs. If you're standing in front of the stairs, you're in the hotel lobby. And she saw this particular chandelier swaying back and forth. And I asked him the obvious question, well, was there an earthquake? And he said, no, you would know, you would feel it. And he said, in his opinion, it was some kind of spiritual activity. The other point of interest was this clock. He told me this this grandfather clock was original to the building, and that a former clerk is sometimes seen standing in front of this clock. I guess he admired the clock, and he would sometimes stare at the clock. I know I don't blame him. Now, getting back to what he told me, here's an example where this is a basement entrance. You can see how that's like a 45-degree angle. The actual height of the street level now is like 5 feet higher or something than it was back in the day of the earthquake. And you can see here like a ramp. You see a lot of that, driveways, walkways, ramps going downward, about a 45-degree angle. I found this striking. This is a poster. I'm an adult ed teacher. I push myself to give my kids a better life. finishyourdiploma.org. If you are one of these people and you're interested in finishing your diploma, I posted on my YouTube channel a couple of videos related to the GED, which I do teach. I also teach independent study for adults diploma. And now's the time to go. Everything's free. Geez, probably, 10 years ago, it wasn't. You had to pay for this stuff. So take advantage of it. If you are interested in getting your diploma or GED, now's the time to go. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Type them into the comments down below. I'll answer them as best I can. I've been teaching adult ed for well over 10 years.